The CNN report says dying reindeers in Lapland is caused by poop. Think about it. Reindeers. We as Westerners, we were totally put between huge geopolitical propaganda. I felt first time in my life real freedom, and it was very surprising, but it happened in Russia.
And it's very interesting that Finnish and Russian people understand very well what is real banya.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Dynamic Spectrum Talks podcast, a place where we talk with interesting people from all over the world, from different countries and cultures to seek new horizons of mutual understanding and the invisible threads that unite us. We try to break down the artificial barriers that divide people and find common values that help us become closer to each other. I am Shafran, and this is my colleague, Yuri Lindre.
Hello, everyone.
On our podcast, we often invite people who has own opinion which contradicts the mainstream Western media. Our dear guests do everything possible to prevent relations between our countries from being completely destroyed. Today, we will be talking via video call with one of those brave people. We are very glad to welcome Finnish journalist and founder of the first international news agency in Donbas, Putkonen. Hello, Janus, and thank you very much for finding time for us.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And today is a big holiday in Finland, the Christmas Eve. So I wish you all good Christmas time in the Western Hemisphere.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Janos. And traditionally, I must ask you the obvious question because, as Anna already said, usually we talk to people from all over the world, and the only thing that unites them all is Russia. Just a simple word which means our country. And my question is, how Russia appeared in your life? Of course, we all know that Finland is a neighboring country to Russia, and we share common history for many centuries. We even been in one empire for quite a long time. But still, Russia is something which lay far east from Finland. And I must ask you, how Russia appeared in your life? Tell us more about your life path.
My parents' house, the house where I have born, is only 150 kilometers from the Russian border, and Russia appeared to my life basically when the Soviet Union collapsed. And I remember those times when Russians started to appear to Finland in big numbers. They bought all our used cars, especially Lada cars. The Russians came everywhere in the same time. They came a lot to shopping and started to travel in Finland, and we see lots of Russians in our area, not far from the border. Russians were very interesting for me especially because there was lots of stories. My grandfathers were in the war in the Soviet Union, and they were never against Russians, and they told to grandchildren that we always should stick together and not to cause any problems to the eastern direction. But we actually didn't know a lot about Russia and Russian culture at all. The Iron Wall was very heavily lifted from the western side, so we knew what the people are listening in London, what they are watching in USA, but we didn't know about Russian popular culture or Russian youth, what they are doing in their life. And then when I turned to 18, I had a possibility to drive, to go to Viborg, to go to Russia first time. And seriously and honestly, I was amazed what I found from the Russian side of the border. The propaganda in the school times was like that the Russia is somehow a place where you should be careful and like this. But all the Russians who we met, they were very kind, and we had never problems in my youth with Russians, and they were very nice people. But when I went first time as a tourist to Russian side, I really found myself from land of opportunities. I felt first time really free in my life. There was no barriers, and the people who I met there saw in the parks and everything. I was actually quite envious to them, because I felt first time in my life real freedom, and it was very surprising, but it happened in Russia. So for me, but afterwards I have understood what happened and why I felt so strong. And then I started to make frequent tourist trips to Russia, a little bit to Karelia, to St. Petersburg, and finally to Moscow. And I have never had any bad experience. Maybe I was lucky, or then I just like adjust myself so smoothly to the Russian lifestyle that Russia was giving me very pleasant experiences. But up to the 2015, when I then came first time to Donbas and to really started to work in the Russian world. I don't say Russia is just Russia. I see Russia as a Russian world, because even we Finnish people, we are very mutual with Russians. We have very much common cultural stuff, and Russia, we were part of the Russian Empire, and Russia gave us the economic background, the independence. The thanks to Russia, we as a Finnish, we have existed up to these dates. So I think that only what separates us is this language barrier, because we have a very strange and very old European language, which contradicts to all directions, to Swedish, to Russians, to all other Europeans. But when you start to learn Russian, you learn to know how much we are as one, and that has been, of course, most interesting past 10 years experience here in Donbas.
Janos, when you were telling us about your childhood, especially young years after the collapse of Soviet Union, you mentioned the car Lada, famous Russian manufacturer. I remember these stories as well. I was a kid, and it was a dream for the parents and the people which were about 30, 40 years old at the time, in the beginning of the 90s, is to obtain somehow an export version of Lada, which was selling to Finland, because those cars were much more better, in terms of quality, and they were already been, let's say, not fixed, but further developed by Finnish companies there. And at the end, if you go to Finland to obtain this car, to get it, literally, you could buy something much more prestigious, luxurious, and
Actually happened so that my first car was Lada. And I was 14, 15-year-old when I bought it to the farmhouse where we just were having hobby with the cars. And then came Russians, and they paid 4 times more from the old Lada what I had bought myself. So I made a good deal with that. But the Russians, they really bought all Ladas, and it was a very popular car. But then came the Russians.
Janusz, your view of the events in Donbas region cannot be called biased because before you moved there, you studied many articles about the causes of the conflicts in Ukraine. Initially, you came there without a firm pro-Russian stance, but a week after staying in Donbas, you learned the truth about what's happening there. Why did you decide to leave your home and go to Donbas?
It's a very deep and personal story. I've been all morning signing a few hundreds of copies of the new book, and it going as an e-version for the readers. Truth about Donbas is a huge spiritual adventure, and for me it started really in I had to when the conflict started in 2014, I had to look from the map, where is this Donbas and what is it about. I was not aware about this region at all. I was in Maidan after the coup, and was doing their journalism work for a week, and I really found the truth about Maidan, and I have written also those stories, but I was warned there in Maidan that there will be a war in eastern Ukraine. There will be a provocation in Odessa, and all those things happened. And in 2015, I had this opportunity to join the first international press tour in Donetsk, and it really opened my eyes to the truth. As I was a chief editor of Finnish newspaper that time, I counted that I had published from the crisis since 2013, when the Euromaidan started, to up to that day over 1,000 different publications and articles about the events in Ukraine. And but the truth, what I found, was so heavily contradicting to the agenda and the propaganda narrative of the Western media that I understood that it's not enough just to make articles. I had to stay. I just couldn't leave.
Janusz, and let's continue this topic. After, as we understand, after your trips to Donbas, you came to a profound realization that you need to create your own online media outlet in your country, in Finland. And we know that this media outlet became quite famous, very famous and popular in Finland. But soon after it became a decent place to read and to visit, you encountered problems and began to be prosecuted for your views and for the opinions that had been published on the pages of this outlet. In one interview, you mentioned that journalism is no longer exist in Finland. How did that happen?
I have a family background in journalism. My mother has been a mainstream media journalist in public broadcast company in Finland over 50 years. My family has been fully involved in journalism, in the work, and especially ethics of journalism. My mother was making news on the period when there was journalism in Finland, and since the 90s, when Finland was joined to European Union, we saw huge decline of Finnish journalism, and the newsrooms were outsourced to AP and Reuters and other foreign mass media productions, and this news agenda took over everything in all channels, in all media outlets. They are all basically mirroring the same topics with same narratives, and channels are many, but news are one. And of course, with my mother, we as she was also in the trade union of journalists very actively, we saw and she told how this situation is getting worse and worse. And basically, the worst thing was since the state terrorism attacks in USA in 2001, they implemented these psychological operations, information war, and it was targeted very heavily to Finnish audience. The attack to Iraq was fully war propaganda. It was not a journalism anymore in Finland, and I get very worried because the majority of the people seems to be totally out from the real life, totally non-critical, and the journalism just died. And towards Russia, the journalism died after 2007, when Mr. Vladimir Putin gave his legendary speech in München Security Conference. And after that, in few years, Russia was turned as an enemy of the West in the Western media. The Russophobic agenda started in the full scale in 2011 in the Russian parliamentary elections. Suddenly, Russia was not anymore a democratic country, and all these huge propaganda campaigns against Russia and Russians started that time. So I have been following very closely and working over 15 years as a chief editor in Finland. So I have been also told about this when they happened, and from those, that's why I remember so well all the turns. But unfortunately, the journalism is dead in the West, and it died after 1995 in Finland.
Janusz, as we said at the beginning of our program, you were the head of the press center and founder of the first international news agency in Donbas. Please tell us how you came up with this idea. Was it difficult to put it into practice?
It was an impossible task. But I had a very strong intuition. It came in for me, the vision in the top of Sarmogila. Still, when I remember these moments, it's very emotional because it struck like a lightning strike, the understanding. And the plan, how to help. Take a weapon, take a Kalashnikov, or continue to work with the keyboards. I was totally like mixed. And from there started huge how to understand how you can take your position, because the information war which was waged was so massive that nothing seems to be enough. And I knew that the Donbas especially needs information defense, and there was no official English-speaking sources, and it was very difficult for the first year of conflict to get official English information. The Russians were well aware of the truth from the beginning because all the news work was done in Russian language. But we as Westerners, we were totally put between huge geopolitical propaganda and then difficult to find and impossible if you couldn't speak Russian language to Google information even. And so I created this idea to fill some basic needs of Donbas, Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic, and offered these ideas to the head of the Donetsk People's Republic, Alexander Zaharchenko, and then to the to those patriots who I met in Moscow, who were giving this possibility for this first press tour in Donbas. So from there it started, and to full my surprise, I had a full freedom to create the working plans and the production plans and like that. Mr. Denis Pushilin, who was on that time the Speaker of the Parliament, and Mr. Zaharshenko, they approved my plans, and so I became a newsman in Donbas, and I get 2 empty offices, one from the government building, one from the city center, and from there we built first international news agency of Donbas and the press center to support foreign journalists visiting in Donetsk. And that was my work for 3 years to the day when Alexander Zaharshenko was brutally murdered by the SBU.
And what do you know? What's the situation right now with this news agency? What was the development of the story after Zaharchenko was killed?
No, unfortunately, he was a very geopolitical. He was a real statesman. I was really proud to work in his team, and he was my closest superior. And I just had very free hands to work with the press center and all these activities, what was towards the Western media. But then after the murder, the whole packet went quite new. The head was changed to Pushilin, and then the new people came to power, and actually I was a little bit exhausted from 3 years of working without break and taking huge responsibilities. We supported over 200 journalists. We had like a full, and suddenly everything just like stopped. And as I understand, that kind of actions was not resumed. I was never asked, or I also never asked myself to come back to this position, because all the offices were closed in the head administration after the murder, and then everything went totally new. And I was in Lugansk, and the advisors of the head say to me that wait there, like we will figure it out. But they never called. They never contacted again. There came new advisors, new policies, new programs, and I was just a foreign journalist. so what can I do? But yeah, it would be. I was very amazed and very sad. I tried to speak years and years that Donbas needs this kind of activity, like urgently, because we knew already 2016 in the head administration for sure that there will be no Minsk agreement, and it means that the escalation of this conflict, the Ukrainian civil war, will happen again, and we have to get ready so that the next time when the full-blown war breaks out, that the Western people are fully aware what is the truth about Donbas. But unfortunately, the information war is a complicated thing, and it needs resources. And in the poor republics, in Lugansk and in Donetsk, we just didn't have money to run international operations or projects, and it was. And then came the COVID. And then the borders were closed, and it was like that. Finally, if there was some international projects in Donetsk and Lugansk, the COVID virus and traveling restrictions and everything, they just destroyed the whole basis. So in 2022, we were naked. We didn't have tools, but I have kept my position. I was the only foreign journalist in Lugansk People's Republic when the escalation started and the Kiev regime started the major attack. Then what Russia came to help to save us.
Well, Janos, it's a sad story to realize that the project you had started, didn't continue in a proper manner. But still, let's slightly
Yeah,
shift.
but I want to add that there is nobody to blame. My conscience is clear. I know that the people tried their best, but Russia basically, because we were independent republics, it's nobody to blame. The information war is something that now Russia knows how terrible it is, but on that time it was just against Donbas. It was not so heavily against the whole Russia. Even the propaganda was against Russia, but the actual events and attacks. But we all learn, and we all have possibility to learn from past mistakes and everything. And I really appreciate everything from my deepest heart what Russia has done for us and to save us.
All right, Janos, let's slightly shift our discussion and move to Finland, to your home country. But I've noticed that you said a few times, we talking about Donbas, you didn't separate yourself from this land, and it's very heart-touching, I would say. But still,
I was ready to take the Kalashnikov when the Ukraine started the major attack in 17th of February 2022. We were under huge, heavy attack, and everybody was ready to defend.
Okay, let's go to Finland, because Donbas is Donbas, and Ukrainian crisis is a serious challenge for the Europe itself. But we see that the consequences of this crisis, of this battlefield action, hit hard Finland as well, because Finland supported the Brussels bureaucracy and imposed a lot of sanctions towards Russia. Just quit from the economical cooperation with Russia. And let me just highlight a few things. For example, for the next year, the capital of Finland, Helsinki, the government of Helsinki, already announced that it will allocate a record 6.3 billion euros for so-called defense needs. We understand if Finland has the longest border with Russia and with Sweden, basically it's going to defend itself from Russia. But you also know that Russia is a country which never wants to start or launch any war, because we are, all our history, we basically were defending ourselves, not conquering anyone. But we see that the Europe, despite economical problems, Finland as well, trying to find more and more money for military purposes. Due to the severance of trade ties with Russia, Finland is also facing a shortage of energy resources. Please confirm, say yes or no, as well as rising prices for electricity and raw materials. So it means that economical decline, I would say, and with economical cooperation with Russia, hit very hard Finland. And Bloomberg, another mainstream media, noticed that Finland borders region are losing millions of euros due to the closure of border trade and border exchange with Russia. How you could comment the current situation, and maybe to say a few words about how you see the further scenarios of current situation?
First of all, this history of Finland turning to Russia, I fast forward. 2014 was the year when Finland was put to the shadow NATO, in Wales. The host nation agreement was signed, by president standing there, and the military commander of the armed forces signed the agreement, which actually put Finland to NATO. It was never in the Finnish parliament discussed, and it never was, never will. But then started this Finnish NATO movement, and it was done because of the events in Ukraine, using that as a pretext. And in 2022, all the preparations were done to the full-scale economic war and cutting diplomatic ties to Russia. The Russophobic agenda was put to the media, and it was again done from the official lies told from Donbas. What is really happening was never told to the Finnish mainstream Finnish mainstream media, and it was used as a pretext. Very aggressive attack after this 24th, when in one night Mr. Vladimir Putin came and stopped the whole coronavirus psychosis and turned it as Russia psychosis. As I told, the Russia variant took the place, and the coronavirus was changed to new fear propaganda, and in the epicenter was Russia and Mr. Vladimir Putin. And of course, when Finnish Prime Minister, who was the globalist Sanna Marin, and another transatlantic globalist, the President Sauli Niinistö, started to demand Finland to take frontline position against Russia, cut all economic ties to Russia. It was understandable, those who were in census, that Finnish economy will not last. We cannot take so huge part of our basic national heritage out and think that it somehow will be replaced. And I see it in this 2022, when this madness started, that Finland will be destroyed. And when the sanctions were declared, and Russia very smartly put their counter sanctions, they actually counted in Russian Duma that if we do this packet to Finnish economy, it will not last. It will crash. And it was said in the economic Duma session. And I agreed fully, and I made the news. I have to tell you that when Zaharchenko died, I resumed my news work in Finland. I'm running there very popular news sources, and I'm chief editing news every day, tens and tens of different news articles, and following these events very closely. Also amongst the Finnish population, my team is there. So everything happened as it was predicted in Duma. Everything is going forward as it was predicted. Never these numbers has been told to the Finnish public, how much this will going to cost, what kind of consequences this will have. Everything has been kept secret up to this day. And now we are in a full-scale unemployment, depression, and economic decline of whole regions bordering Russia. There is absolute chaos going on. And my journalists who are in the field in Finland, they drive to the locations, they talk with the people, everybody sees this, but it's not in the mainstream media. Only some Western Reuters or some others, they are interested. Some Washington Post can visit in Eastern Finland and make a report about it. But it's not discussed in Finland because, of course, this globalist leadership doesn't do mistakes. And we have to give all support to Ukraine. The Ukraine agenda is the only thing. Since the coronavirus, there haven't been anything other than this Ukraine agenda ruling and causing all this mess. So what is going to happen? Finland will be destroyed one way or another if they will escalate and make military tension I know that our guys are ready to respond all possible ways, and it will not be another Ukraine. It's the Westerns. They are not Slavic people. It's a very different situation with the Western Front. You don't need to be afraid of that. But seriously, Finland is going to the national suicide, and people like us patriots. I have tens of thousands of followers and people who join in patriotic movements, and we know, but we cannot do anything. The mass is in psychosis, and they really believe those the huge propaganda that everything is Russia's fault. And in the same time, without a doubt, we know that when Russia made 1992 ratified Boris Yeltsin's era mutual agreement with cooperation with Finland, so-called neighbor agreement. Not one time Russia has, since today, broken this agreement. Russia haven't done anything against Finnish people, interests of Finland or Finnish state, nothing. But still, Russia is all to blame. Even in the latest CNN report says dying reindeers in Lapland is caused by Putin. Think about it. Reindeers are dying, and the reason is obvious: Putin. That we are dealing with very not sensible leadership and the elite which is running. They are panicking from the collapse of their agenda policies, not only in Ukraine agenda, but immigration agenda, the whole new world order, what they were thinking to put over us, the hegemonical West, it's all collapsing, and the multipolar world is rising, and they are panicking.
Well, it's it's a sad story to realize. Just a spot question. You already said that basically the population of Finland is under the heavy propaganda and under some sort of psychosis and blame Russia for everything. But do you think that there is a chance that sooner or later this narrative will be changed? Will be changed. Maybe new political elites could enter the power through the elections, or I don't know, the wisdom somehow through the high IQ which people.
Is there any chance?
Yeah,
for this?
Yeah, the problem in Finland is that we don't have a patriotic capital, and many Western European countries, they still have patriotic capital who are funding parties like Alternative for Germany and Hungary and other, and Slovakia. There are patriotic businessmen and capital which are allocated to healthy patriotic policies, and it creates natural alliance for countries like Russia, who are defending their constitution, who are, let's say, anti-globalists. But in Finland, unfortunately, I haven't found in 15 years a single millionaire who could start to fund main patriotic news channels, to create alternative media stronger. I'm financed and have been financed for 15 years from donations, from regular people, from getting some euros from there, another here, but not like a budget support. And the problem is also in the political parties. I was one of the leading figures of Finnish Independence Party in 2010 to 2013. And I saw it very closely that the situation is not only in the media, but it's also in the political parties. So without any resources, when all these parties which are in the parliament, they are funded by the same bankers and same business owners, and they are ruled by them. So that means that there is no opposition. There is only one-party system. And in this one-party system, the people like me, we are sent to exile. I had to move 2014 already. Long before I came to Donbas, I was living abroad because the police just was knocking on my door, and I knew that I was warned, if I continue to do what I'm doing with the Finnish patriotic media, I will be in jail or I will be dead. And unfortunately, we have lost many good friends of mine in this battle. And so there is no freedom of media. There is no freedom of speech. So how can you create a challenging patriotic parties? Because Russia, with its non-interference policy, doesn't come to the Finnish society and offer resources to create something. So the only direction is Finnish or the Western. But it's very limited resources, really. You cannot challenge this globalist rule because they own all the money, and you need money to create organizations, to create movement. You need to pay people salaries. You just need resources which are non-existent. And unfortunately, when I came to Donbas, I figured out that we had a very zen situation here. Money was very little bit, but anyway, that is something what have to take to consideration, because they have all the money, so they have all the power.
Janos, as far as we know, you have recently finished writing your book, Truth About Donbas. At first, it will be released for your Finnish readers, and after that, translated into Russian and English. Please tell us a few words about this book.
It tells this. Without reading this book, you cannot understand what is really happened, and I think that it's very unique. Story. It's my story, and it's story of Ukrainian crisis from its history to the recent day, how it looked in Donbas through the eyes of local population and in the Western media and from different angles, but also how it looked from the head administration of Donetsk People's Republic and how it has been looked from the government of Lugansk. Because I have been living in both republics and working for both republics equally. So, but it's a story about Donbas people, but in its geopolitical context. And I'm very glad that I was patient enough to wait full 10 years before I write this book, because getting a little bit distance to the events is usually good in order to keep objective views. And I try to be critical for the right direction, but also thankful and honest to all directions, which deserves to be taken into account. Truth About Donbas is something what has been and will be leading the future of Russian Federation, the future of the European continent and the world in general. If you don't understand what's really happened in Donbas, you cannot understand why there are economical problems, why there are tensions in different regions, why everything has come one by one, because everything is understandable. It's documented realities, but you have to put them on the understandable timeline so that people can follow the story from the beginning to the time and times forward. And the truth is something what we cannot invent. It's not creatable. You can only learn the realities. You can only learn the facts, and by learning them, everything starts to look like logical, understandable, and also you will get free from the misunderstandings. Like truth gets you free, and misunderstandings when they fades away, it's easier to cope daily news and to understand where we are going. We don't know the future, but certainly we can learn from the past. And so I'm more than pleased to offer this book today, which has been posted for a few hundred Finnish patriots, and soon the translation is ready for Russian, and I hope that in January this book will be presented, and I hope that it reaches Russian soldiers, Russian government, diplomats, regular people, because the truth about Donbas gives us a common backbone for keeping our stand.
Janos, our podcast is gradually coming to an end, but I need to ask you a very important question, the final question for today. We've started with the obvious question about Russia, how Russia appeared in your life, but now I need to ask you, what common do we have? I mean, the Finnish people and the Russian people, besides we are neighbors, and keeping in mind that we have very difficult languages, but there is still something common exists between our people, and we need your help to find this common ground. Please assist us.
You know that we had a terrible war, and the winter war was tough. The Operation Barbarossa, we were totally thrown to the wrong camp, and there are very big difficulties we faced. We were defeated, and rightly so. Russians fought very bravely, and of course our guys did their best, and it was difficult to find a common language, not only because we don't understand in the words, but also in soul. But our president, Urho Kalevi Kekkonen, was like, Saharchenko and Putin and others, like a real statesman. And he created this banya policy, sauna policy. And through banya politics, you can find a common language between the nations, and especially between Finnish and Russians. Just go together to Banya, have a relaxing time, and we start to really respect and love each other again.
If you survive after 15 minutes at the temperature of 100 degrees or even above, then yes, you're qualified to speak the same language and to become friends.
It creates like a bond between people, and it was very successfully implemented, and Russian leadership really appreciated this Finnish approach, and the banya policy is something that we have to implement in future. Now, I have done it best of my can here in Donbas, and I have a banya at home, and but being with Russian soldiers is a great opportunity to find common language, no matter can you Russian or not.
And it's very interesting that Finnish and Russian people understand very well what is a real banya.
Yeah, it creates a bond. So let's count on that and work with the better. The Patriots are in both sides of the closed border, but we are together. We are as one, and there are tens of thousands of good patriots in Finland waiting that the geopolitical situation gives opportunities for common sense to come to the table.
Janos, thank you very, very much for this very interesting conversation, and we wish you all success in your difficult work. Thank you very much for all. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.